Thanks for joining me. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. I just want to go over a couple of things. The Eastern Caribbean in particular, we need to be on alert. This is a potential storm as we get into early next week. So something could develop here. And I want to go over the models because those are important because the models have not been great this year. The American model, which is this, has actually been better on picking up on development. The European model has been better on the track in the end, and that's what we saw with Ian. So I'm going to break that down. Not one model over another. I kind of take them all into account and kind of focus on the highlights of each model and which one is doing best in different scenarios. So point being, I'm covering everything best I can for you, but this is a potential for early next week. So I want you on alert. I'm going to go over the locations, the models, European GFS, the American and the Canadian model, and dive into what this means and that high potential now of flooding, especially as we get toward Trinidad and Tobago, parts of Guyana. And then we need to see how this kind of sets up all the way up through Barbadoes. All of these areas we need to be on alert from basically Jamaica through Haiti, swinging back toward the Virgin Islands, Anguilla, Antigua, and Barbuda, because I don't know exactly where this is going to form. We have a good feel that it's somewhere in here, but it could be a little bit more up here, or it could be back toward the ABC Islands. So all these locations doesn't mean we're prepping for a hurricane or anything at this point, but we all need to pay attention very carefully in these zones. Not so much our western zones. Again, we'll see how this evolves down the road. So Belize thinking of you down the road, but at least as of now, these are the sectors that need to be on alert. So please monitor it. Thank you for sharing this channel. It's about safety and kind of watching these things develop. Hurricane Center is now picking up on the possibility of development. We've been talking about this the last few videos. I do want to recap to the north. Again, we have that system scoop by Bermuda, some improvements, although some gusty winds earlier today. Models taking whatever this is, even if it does develop, bringing some increased rain just offshore for the most part of much of New England, although Maine could see some increased rain, and then up toward Canada. So I'll keep an eye on that. I know we have a lot of viewers from Canada, so just monitoring that. But here is the Caribbean, and this is what's going on. So we've got two things, and they're kind of merging, and that's what we've been talking about together over the last really week or so at this point. An old front here, so that's the first thing, and then a new strong tropical wave that is sliding into the Caribbean. Already some rain close to Guyana, Suriname, and then both of those merge into the Eastern Caribbean, leaves a lot of moisture here, and conditions are conducive for development in the Eastern Caribbean. You see Western Caribbean Gulf, not as much going on right now, but watching you as well long term. Again, we cover everyone on this channel, regardless of how big a country is, how small it is, how big an island, how small an island, all islands, all locations matter. So this is the American model. This is today. You see the rain picking up. We've got it here with the front. There's the tropical wave, and this is going to work into the Caribbean. So St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, rain chance picking up. Let me take you out in time until late tomorrow. So we've got the leftover moisture from the front plus the moisture from the tropical wave moving in. So somewhere in here, we're going to start to see some isolated flooding from a system that is not organized, just watching out for this slug of moisture. Puerto Rico, British Virgin Islands, watching over towards St. John, St. Martin for that rain. And then you see it here. This is by the time we get into early in the weekend. So Friday into Saturday now, showing this flare up, the leftover moisture from a front. This is a few days from now by the time we get into Friday and Saturday. And this is when we could start to see some development. So if we start to see some development on Friday, that's really going to tell us that something is developing further or will develop further. So that'll kind of put us on higher alert for sure. Then as we get deeper into the weekend, let me stop it here. This is Sunday. At that point, at least the American model has a tropical depression or tropical storm forming here, the ABC Islands, Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago. Now, as far as if it does develop, where it could go, this is a little bit down the road. This time of year, I want to stress that it is a little bit tricky. Either way, lots of rain working in, but you get these fronts around. So this could shoot more to the north if a front zips in, and the fronts kind of evolve quickly. Or if it misses fronts, it can move off to the west. So things kind of change a little bit quicker this time of year. But either way, this is by early to mid next week, the potential of a tropical storm, even a hurricane somewhere in here. And even if something doesn't develop, there's going to be a lot of moisture here, but still wait and see. Does it go more to the west, or does it get picked up in a front and move more to the north? But you see that increased chance of rain. So this is plausible. And you notice that this is why I brought it up a few days ago. The American model is still latching onto this. It's still seeing development. In this model, while it had a lot of trouble in the end with Ian, and I know, and you know too, it has been doing a little bit better this season with at least seeing things that may develop. So that's why I'm looking at that model at least a little more initially. And then you get the water temps. Water temps 31 to 32 Celsius. That's about, let's see, that's about 87 to almost 90 Fahrenheit. So very warm water here. Very deep warm water here, and conditions should be conducive for development. The upper level winds, which means those will kind of relax, and that allows storms to build up. So you don't see these gusty winds scooting across the developing system, knocking off the thunderstorms. You have the warm water and light winds above, so that allows thunderstorms to build, and that's why in this area there is that higher potential that something may try to develop. Hopefully not. Still, there's a chance not, but that's what we're watching. Now, the American model for us, this is the European model, I should say. The European model is not picking up on true or at least bigger development at this time. But what's catching my eye is down the road, it is now picking up on a good bit of moisture in the Eastern Caribbean. So it's latching on to something. But the European model is not showing a full-blown system at this point. So that's one scenario there. The Canadian model, though, is latching on to development. This would have some sort of tropical storm in the Eastern Caribbean. So yeah, the models are split, but that's why I take into account a lot of things when looking at these, just to try to give you the early heads up. So as we take a look at the forecast for later today and even into tomorrow, that flood threat is increasing. Not for all of us, but the rain threat increasing, the flood threat increasing, 3 inches of rain, 75 millimeters or more. We could get 100 millimeters, upwards of 125 in spots. Please stay alert because we have the old front through here. So watching out for some areas of rain and storms, and then I showed you that moisture really picking up, and then you get toward parts of Guyana, but really Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a much higher chance of rain as that tropical wave starts to move in. So even an unnamed system will give us some flooding, and boy, this is interesting how we're rounding out the year this way, or the season this way, because this is how it began. Remember earlier in the season, everything was taking that southerly trek, and that's what we've got again. Of course, eventually this may move up to the north. So these locations, please monitor. Share with your friends and family, not in a scary way, but you could share this channel, not that you would do that, but just to let them know at this point we're just kind of watching. Although in these areas here, Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago, and parts of Venezuela, a higher chance of flooding in the short term. But just so I don't want anyone caught off guard. There's levels of panic, and then I also don't want people caught off guard. So there's nothing to panic about at this point, of course, or really ever. But please share with your friends and family. Let them know what's kind of shaking out. Trinidad and Tobago, high chance of rain. Temps, by the way, it's so muggy. Temps are going to soar early, but then that chance of rain gets higher. Some of the winds will be picking up, especially for tomorrow. So watching out for flooding. Some of the same areas that have had flooding all season long, we're going to see it again in spots. So please use some caution. Now, if this system gets named, or at least the next system, could be that little spin up north of Bermuda, the next name on the list is Lisa. So clearly a lot going on, and I'm going to monitor this very carefully. If I see anything develop too, later today, I would do another video, but as of now, everything is right on track from what we've been talking about together. So thank you for building this weather community. I'll try to get to those comments best I can. Thank you for putting up with me, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.